Hey guys, welcome back. This is Philip again. That's my hand you see on screen drawing the picture. And today we're going to do something a little different than the last couple of videos. Whereas the last few videos have been full body images, this is going to be just what you call a bust. It's going to be a head and chest of an individual. And the individual in question is going to be Superman. And specifically, it's going to be an attempt to be the actor Tom Welling as Superman. For those of you who have been watching my channel for a while, you might remember when I drew that Superman image a few weeks ago, I did one version of the face and then erased it and then went back to what I called kind of a classic Superman head. Well, that's because that was the first attempt to try to draw Tom Welling's face as Superman. The image in question, it was a full body image, so the face was pretty small, so it was difficult to get a proper likeness going in that image. And so today I just felt like let's give it a try with a more tight image. There's the man in question right there, Tom Welling. He played Clark Kent on the TV show Smallville for 10 seasons. Fun fact, Clark and I are pretty much the same age. What I mean by that is that when Smallville was originally airing on TV, I was one grade ahead of Clark, 1 or 2 grades ahead of Clark in high school. And so as a result, Smallville Clark became my favorite version of the character of Superman. And he became kind of like an avatar for me. He was my spirit animal, my fictional self. Something very appealing about the idea, especially when you're a young man, of here's this version of Clark Kent who pretty much everything he touches turns to crap over the course of the series. He spends 10 years trying to figure out who he is and what he wants to do and become Superman. But I love the idea that no matter how many mistakes this guy made as a kid, one day he was going to get his act together. And when he did, he would be the best of the best. And so Smallville Clark will always have a special place in my heart amongst all the different actors to have played Superman over the years. Tom Welling is pretty much my go-to Superman. That said, Tom Welling's face is kind of an interesting departure from the more, I don't know what you call it, aquiline type faces of guys like Christopher Reeve or Brandon Routh. Tom's face is a little broader. I found in attempts to try to draw his face as Superman, if you try to draw more classical Superman iconography of a face, it doesn't look like Tom Welling. For me, the character of Thor from Marvel Comics seems to have more of a Tom Welling-esque face. So I've always kind of surmised that if you wanted to draw Tom Welling as Superman, you'd be better off looking at images of Thor, specifically drawn by Alan Davis, to try to match up facial features. This particular drawing is going to spend a lot of time on the face, again, because that's basically what was for sale here. I felt numerous times like Napoleon Dynamite drawing the face and spending 2 hours shading the lips, because I'm going to go back and try to redraw these lips over and over and over and over again to try to get them right. Wasn't 100% perfect. And in all honesty, I probably could have done better. But as I've mentioned in previous videos, my goal at the moment is still to sort of track where my skills are at the moment without putting a whole lot of training or effort into it. I want to sort of take stock of what I've got and learn where I need to focus on. I've learned in these previous few videos that I'm not great at mapping a face across a skull at all angles. I can draw a dead ahead face pretty well. I can draw a profile of a face, but 3/4 turn, looking up, it's all over the map for me. I'm liking these colors and these breakdowns I've done for where the shading's going to go on the face. Your mileage may vary on how much this actually looks like the actor Tom Welling as Superman. But I will say this is a pretty solid drawing for Superman. I'm proud of this. I would stack this up against anything else I've drawn. It's certainly the most realistic, or for comic book style, realistic face I've drawn. When you're drawing full body images like I do in my other videos, not a whole lot of real estate goes to the face. So it really does become, you find yourself relying on simple shapes that denote an eye or a nose or a mouth, instead of really being able to get detailed and put all the context and contours you need to properly map out every plane and angle of a human face. That's honestly not bad. I feel like I probably should have stopped coloring the face right there, but I think I'm probably going to end up going back and putting more detail in it later. A famous saying about painters and paintings, there comes a moment when you realize one more drop of paint will ruin the painting, and I usually find that moment while I'm watching these videos and going like, oh, I see, I should have stopped 3 steps before then. The TV show Smallville itself is pretty famous in the history of superhero TV shows. It started at a weird time back before superhero movies had taken over the world. So the main selling point of Smallville was that, hey, look, it's Superman, but he's not wearing the costume. That's enraged fans, Superman fans for decades since. But I know from personal opinion that I've had friends and family members who watched Smallville who gave it a chance because it wasn't Clark Kent running into a phone booth, stripping down to a spandex costume and flying away. My father once, after he started getting into Smallville, kind of gave me a summation of, yeah, it's not really like a cartoon character. It's more like if King Arthur and Hercules were the same character, and it's like young Hercules, and one day he's going to grow up to be King Arthur, and it's set in the modern day. And that's how my father was able to really get into the show Smallville. And as a result, my dad was not a very nerdy, comic booky, geeky guy, but he loved his classical mythology. He loved Hercules and Greek myths, Knights of the Round Table, all that stuff. So he was able to plug into the character and the world through that lens of, oh, this is just a modern day version of a classic hero myth. And yes. Anyone who's probably watching this video would be screaming right now, well, yes, of course, it's exactly what it is. But in 2001, that wasn't what was for sale with superhero stories. They were still viewed by a lot of people as just, a goofy cartoon, no different than Muppet Babies or what have you. And Smallville went a long way to sort of bridging that gap. Shortly after Smallville debuted, you had the Spider-Man, Sam Raimi movies around that same time. The X-Men movies came in, and Smallville was around during the first initial wave of superhero fandom movies. The X-Men, the Spider-Man, even there was another Superman movie that came and went during the run of Smallville. Superman Returns came out during something like season 6 of Smallville, and when it didn't blow up the universe as the greatest movie, highest grossing movie ever made, Smallville just kept on going and was allowed to do its own thing and went out on its own terms after 10 seasons. The overall shape of that shield, the three-dimensionalness of it, comes from this particular image I found online, which looked super cool. I love the idea of, if you're going to draw a realistic Superman, having the shield kind of stand out as a three-dimensional image that lays on top of like a decal laying on top of the chest, that has exists in its own rules and doesn't exactly conform to the skin-tight nature of the suit that's being worn underneath it. Here now we're just going through and adding little details here and there, try to add some more depth. I like the way that hair turned out. Kind of did a technique of drawing each lock of hair as if it was like an individual leaf on a tree, that made each thing stand out and not be a giant mass of hair. Probably could have done a better job there, but overall, I really like how this picture turned out. I definitely think there's some wonky perspective issues that probably could have been fixed, but I think that's an overall issue with me. The way I sit, the page sort of angled away from me, I need to adjust my sitting position so that I'm looking directly at it. But there you go, guys. Here's the references I used all in one handy-dandy place at the end of the video. Like and subscribe and let me know what you think. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.